Under pressure, management will often promote people, strong individual contributors, to tech lead positions just out of fear of losing them when they're really not a good fit at all for being a tech lead. They won't really explain to the person, okay, do you understand that if you get this promotion, you're going to be doing less coding? You're going to be needing to lead people and learn about leadership. You're going to need to take responsibility for your team members and defend them. Do you really want to do that? Because that's what this takes to be successful at this job. And dirty little secret I'll tell you is, over the 25 years I've been in this industry, I've worked with a lot of managers who don't even realize that's important. Just the name tech lead has this kind of prestigious ring to it. If you've ever been on a project with a tech lead, you might think that's the job to go for. But I've been on over 40 software projects over my career, and about 5 years in, I became a tech lead. And so I've been doing this for about 20 years, leading software projects. And you might be surprised to know that it's actually the worst job for most programmers. So what does a good tech lead actually do? Well, a lot of people think a variety of things, but let me just debunk some things. First of all, many people think a good tech lead is the smartest person on the team. They need to know the most things about the technology. They know deep, absolutely every detail about whatever, coding or QA or DevOps types of processes they're leading as the tech lead. But I've learned in many years of doing this that if you're actually a really good tech lead, you can't know the depth of everything on the project, depending on the size of project. So if you're on a project and you're thinking about becoming a tech lead, it might actually take a little bit of stress off you to know you don't actually have to be the smartest person on the team to be a really good candidate for one. The second thing I often hear is that the person has to write the best code. I mean, this is specifically too if you're the tech lead on a programming type of a position or something like that. But often I've found the best tech leads will defer certain aspects of what's being built to their team members that they know are actually better than them at various aspects of coding. You don't actually have to be the best developer on the project. Now, management and the company may have some different views of this, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how if you base whether you want to pursue a tech lead role or not based on what companies tell you versus what you actually need to do to be effective in the job, that's a dangerous thing to do. And that's why I'm making this video today, to try to help you out. The other thing many people think a tech lead has to do is have the final say on all the technology decisions. Now, on the surface, this is actually true. On most projects I've been on, there may be some disagreement amongst the team members on what direction to go. And ultimately, if there's a tie or nobody wants to come to consensus, the tech lead often does have to basically make a final decision. But I'm going to talk about in a moment here why, if you look at that as that's a normal part of the job and that it's basically your right to make all the final technology decisions, you'll probably piss off your team and be a really ineffective tech lead. Also, many people think that the tech lead makes the most money on the team. And on some projects, that's true. But on a significant project or effort, there are often specialists on the team who know particular aspects of security, some integration technology, and some of those team members who aren't leading the project or the tech lead can actually be being paid more than the tech lead. And finally, the last thing that I unfortunately see a lot of people believe about being a tech lead is that the way that they motivate people is by keeping them up to their high standards. I'm going to talk later in the video about some of the toxic tech leads I've run into over my career who lead this way. But yes, it's important if you're going to be the lead on a project to probably have pretty strong skills and pretty strong ability to get done what you're leading. But just being good at it is not actually motivating to people. There's a lot of other things that you need to do to motivate them to get better at their work. And some of the worst tech leads I've ever worked with have very little concern for helping their team members. They just think automatically, because of the fact that they're maybe more experienced, or just because they have the title, that everybody else is going to automatically just live up to their standards and improve their skills. So what should a tech lead really do? Well, the number one thing I think that's really important, if you're going to consider becoming a tech lead, or you're looking at your existing team's tech lead and trying to figure out, are they really suited for this role, is they should be helping people get better. If you're leading a project and you have 3 other developers on your team, even a small sized project, if you as the tech lead, or again, your coworker who's the tech lead, only care about how good the tech lead is and not about the rest of the team members, only 1/4 of that total workforce, you and the other 3 people, are really operating at a high level of effectiveness. And if you actually are helping all your team members get better at their ability to do, again, whatever it is you're leading them on, QA, UX, development, DevOps, product management, whatever it is, you're improving everybody's ability to contribute. And that's actually a much more significant impact on the overall project. So a really good tech lead understands that they make a bigger impact on the success of the project by leveling up everybody than just being really good themselves. The second thing a really good tech lead needs to do is defend their team when they make mistakes. If you're on a project with a tech lead and somebody makes a mistake, yes, ultimately it's important to know what the root cause is. But I've worked with some tech leads before that are just very quick to blame their team members. And really, if you want to be a good tech lead, or you're on a project, again, you're looking at your tech lead and wondering, how good of a job are they doing? Are they really cut out for this? They should be one of the first people on the team to be coming to your defense when you make a mistake, to management or scrum masters or vendors, or really anybody who they have other relationships with that they might have commitments with. Now, ultimately, as a tech lead, yes, you do have to be able to communicate that maybe it was somebody's mistake that they made, but the words that you use, you can just basically blame someone and just, yeah, it was their fault. Or you can say, I know they were working really hard on this. This is actually a really complicated part of the architecture or a feature we're building, and it was a pretty honest mistake. I could see almost anybody make this. You can basically couch the way that you're describing the mistake that was made in a way that still shows confidence in your team members. Conversely, the other thing that's really important about being an effective tech lead is you need to be able to congratulate people publicly when they do a good job. If you get promoted or you are in a tech lead position, it's very tempting to, in scrum meetings, stand-up meetings, executive meetings, just amongst your team, show off all the stuff you're getting done and get a lot of kudos. And I know when you're an individual contributor and you're not in a leadership position, there's a temptation to focus on that because, when we accomplish things, it's a meritocracy, right? When you work in a company, you want them to see the good work that you're doing. But if you're shifting into a tech lead position, you're leading people, you need to be able to actually compliment your team members and publicly let people know, this person's doing a really good job, or we had this big issue with this project, this problem, that we were debugging for, let's say, weeks. And, John or Mary or whoever finally got us through this issue. The other thing that's super important to do if you're considering becoming a tech lead, or you're looking at your tech lead and wondering if they're doing a good job, is being really good at communicating with the team to get buy-in for technology decisions. This is the opposite of tech leads I've seen that are very ineffective. They will often go off on their own and do a bunch of research and try to pick the right, NPM package or system to integrate with or some DevOps technology, and they'll just bring it to the team. And here you go. Here's the best technology. And while I think researching on your own is super valuable, obviously we can't always have every member of the team, researching every technology. The approach that you use when you bring that new technology to your team, if you say it in a way where you're letting people know, hey, I found this really cool thing. Let's get together. Let's look at it. I really want your feedback. What are some of the concerns you have? What are some of the problems you see with this? Being a really good tech lead and inspiring people, if you show them that that's the way that you bring new technology and new patterns and new libraries into the team, you're modeling for everybody else on your team what you ultimately want them to do. You don't want them to just go off, pick a technology, start using it in the project, and nobody knows about it or had any say in it. And the last thing that a really great tech lead will often do is they will help their team through tough situations. Some of the worst tech leads I've worked with, when the going gets tough, they just kind of shut down and leave everybody to fend to themselves. And that's not leadership. I'm sorry, it's not. You may have worked with many tech leads over your project, or you're one yourself, and you think that's the way to lead people, especially if you get into a much larger company or you just get into a higher level role at a company. You can't do that. Now, does this mean that when a mistake is made, you need to work overtime and, fix every problem that your team made? No, of course not. But it does mean when things get difficult, having a pretty significant portion of time available as part of your schedule of the work that you're on the hook for to encourage your team members, meet with them, sit with them, pair with them. If you're using Slack, DM them and talk to them personally and find out, how are they feeling? What's bothering them? Are they concerned? It's the same thing that you'd hope your management would be asking you about the overall project. If you're having concerns and you're a tech lead, you want to show the same concern for your team members when you find the project's in a tight spot. Because if people feel like nobody's supporting them, one of the first things they'll do is they will shut down, and then you're depending on, again, 4 other developers, 10 other developers, however many people you're leading to be making progress on their features. And if there's already time crunch or people are already flipping out, you're only making things worse if you don't help them. Hey, are you getting to that point in your career where you're starting to wonder, did I choose the right job? Should I be doing something maybe a little bit different? Maybe you're considering becoming an entrepreneur, or getting into consulting, or just shifting into like a leadership role, or maybe working in slightly different technology. Well, I've collected a lot of really great information about the top 25 job roles that most people work in tech, and I've got access for you for free via a link in the description. It's called Tech Rolepedia, and it's basically a curated set of information that I've gathered to try to help you figure out if you're still in the right job role, or maybe you need to make a little bit of a change. I've collected information like how much you make in areas across the world, what's the typical career progression like, what kind of education or training might you need, and I've also got links to books, resources, and key people that already have that job that you could learn from. So if you want, click the link in the description and check it out. So let me talk real quick with you about something a lot of people don't talk about that I think is really important about the tech lead role and how it sometimes goes wrong. And that's, how do bad tech leads get promoted? If you've been on a project with a bad tech lead, I'm sure you've often wondered, how did this person even get into this role in the first place? They're just horrible. Well, let me tell you the story of how I've seen this happen many times on projects, and this is something you can look out for yourself. If there's somebody on a project and they're a really strong individual contributor, let's say they're a hotshot coder or just amazing at DevOps or UX or, again, any software development discipline. When they're on the project, they've demonstrated that they're good, and they're probably in their, review with their manager, however often it is per year, and they're trying to show the accomplishments they've made to try to get a promotion or try to make more money. And at some point, you reach a certain level as a programmer or an individual contributor where a natural potential direction to go is to get promoted to a tech lead. And a lot of people want that title, but they don't really know what the job means. Again, that's why I made this video. And if a company really values that person enough, let's say it's somebody who knows the code better than everybody else on the project, if they feel like that person's a flight risk, meaning they're going to quit and leave the company if they don't get this promotion, Under pressure, management will often promote people, strong individual contributors, to tech lead positions just out of fear of losing them when they're really not a good fit at all for being a tech lead. They won't really explain to the person, okay, do you understand that if you get this promotion, you're going to be doing less coding? You're going to be needing to lead people and learn about leadership. You're going to need to take responsibility for your team members and defend them. Do you really want to do that? Because that's what this takes to be successful at this job. And dirty little secret I'll tell you is, over the 25 years I've been in this industry, I've worked with a lot of managers who don't even realize that's important as part of being a tech lead. They think being a strong tech lead is just, again, the best developer on the team, which kind of blows my mind, because if they're in middle management, I'm sure they've realized, I'd hope, that just leadership skills are important. But if you ever see this happen, just remember, if you see someone in a lead position and you're wondering, how did they get there? Sometimes the way they got there was not because they actually wanted to lead. They actually even understood what leadership meant. It's simply because they had some leverage over the company and they pushed them to give them the promotion, and now they're in this role. I would just recommend to you, don't ever do that, please. Not only will you piss off your team, but you'll be really ineffective and people will hate working under you. So if you're thinking about being a tech lead, do some of the things I'm just about to tell you, which is going to help you actually be an effective tech lead if you're considering moving into it. So if you just heard everything I said and you're not running for the hills and you're like, that sounds like a great job, I want to be a tech lead. Actually, the way you're describing it, Jamie, that makes a lot of sense. I want to do it. What do you need to do today to put yourself in a good position to become a tech lead? Well, here's a couple quick tips. The first thing you can do is practice defending your teammates. Even if you are, parallel with a bunch of other developers and you've got a tech lead, when one of your other team members makes a mistake or they need help or they get behind and you're in a Scrum meeting or you're just talking on Slack or you're just, together in some sort of work session or you're pair programming, try defending that person, saying good things about the good work they're doing to help kind of soften the blow of some struggles they might be having. If you do this, management will notice, the tech lead will notice, and sometimes the tech lead will start to question, wait a minute, why aren't I doing that? If they're not doing it already. Now, again, your demonstration can't force other people to change, but I know when I was earlier in my career, and you've heard about this on other videos earlier in the channel, I was a very dysfunctional and poor leader. The first 10 years of my career in software, I was an architect too early and it went to my head, but I didn't do that. And so, often I would not get support from people. You may actually be really surprised how it changes the attitude of the tech lead, the team, everybody towards you personally when they see, okay, this person's not just greedy out for themselves, only cares about their own results. They actually care about the team. And hello, leadership, that's what it's all about. If you only care about yourself and your own progress, you're the worst person to ever be a tech lead. And that was much of what, if I'm perfectly honest with you, as embarrassing as it is to say, how I looked at leading people when I started out. I made a lot of stupid mistakes. You can also practice publicly congratulating your teammates. Whether you got to post something in Slack to remind people about something that somebody just did where they broke through an issue that people were stuck on. If somebody's had to work overtime, and we all hate overtime, and I wish it was never needed, but sometimes it is, congratulate that person, thank that person. Now, I've talked about in other videos, and I think I'm not a fan of firefighting, meaning like there's problems on the project and people just work all kinds of overtime and then they're congratulated all the time, because that tends to build a culture of people being rewarded for an unhealthy work-life balance. And hello, this channel's called Healthy Software Developer. You know that I'm trying to help you not do that. But still, if people go above and beyond, if they have to sacrifice personal time, if they have to go through a really difficult challenge, if they have to kind of swallow their pride and approach something a different way that they really wanted to do a different way, letting other people know that you see that and you appreciate that, it's just going to build strength on the team. And they're going to look at you as a leader, whether you have the role yet, the actual title of tech lead or not. Another thing you can do that I see very few tech leads do, at least in the tech lead role, but some of them do, is read books on leadership. There are tons of really simple, great books on leadership out there. They're too numerous to name, from confronting people in difficult conversations to, making sure people have authentic relationships, dealing with dysfunctional relationships, getting rid of politics, all the things that we run into that often make it hard for just people to work together and to lead people. There's so many books at this point. In fact, in some ways, I'd say if you're going to follow this tip I'm giving you, just be careful. Don't read too many books. Pick like maybe one, maybe two, read them, and then read them over and over again and pick a few aspects of the book and put them into practice. I think there's a big problem online today where everybody uses learning kind of as procrastination. They're learning, they're understanding the concept, but they don't actually put it into practice. So you got to be a little bit careful not to go too far down the road. But, reading some books on leadership and then practicing applying those is an awesome thing to get you ready for being a great tech lead. Or if you're one already, just help you be more effective. Another thing you really should do if you're tech lead is pair with your teammates. Sit with your teammates. If it's over Zoom, pair Zoom program with your teammates. One of the big dysfunctions on software development projects to this day is people get together for a meeting, talk about what they're going to do, and then they go separately code and they kind of asynchronously communicate via Slack. And the problem with that is if you're trying to lead people, they're not necessarily going to reach out to you unless they feel really comfortable. So you have to go to them. So anytime you can spend with your teammates actually working side by side with them, again, if in person's better, of course, but if it has to be remote, you can still totally do it. You just got to make sure it happens. You're going to find out things about that person you don't know. You're going to strengthen the relationship, and they're going to actually see you as a leader. Again, you don't even have to be a tech lead to do this. This is just something that you choose to do on your own because you want to learn how to do it so that you can effectively be a tech lead if you're given the option to get that kind of a promotion or that kind of title at some point. And the last thing that I'd really encourage you to do if you're considering being a tech lead is learn more about the business of the company you're working for. If you're a tech lead, one of the things you're going to probably experience, if you're like me, is you get pulled into a lot more meetings. You get asked a lot more questions about the product that you're working on. If you're going to be an effective tech lead, you're going to be talking more with management. You're going to be talking more with business people. Hopefully, you even get a chance to talk to customers. So even though you're deep in the technology and you're the tech lead, anything you can do to really understand how does the business make its money? What kind of people go out there and sell the product? How do they market it? What are their costs? Everything around the business structure, its market. You don't have to be an expert. Obviously, you're the tech lead. You're not the product owner necessarily or, business development for the company. But it's going to really help you when you have discussions with people that are a little less technical. You're going to be able to speak in their language. You're going to be able to translate from this geeky technology thing that you're working on and your team's working on to exactly a super common, easy to understand business term that the person you're talking to knows. Are you a tech lead out there already? Do you agree with what I'm sharing today? If not, do you have a tech lead on your project? Do you think they're doing a good job at some of these things? Do you think they even know that these are important or not? Leave me some comments. Until next time, thanks.